Text 29.
श्री शुक उवाच स्वानां विभीषणश्चक्रे कोसलेन्द्रानुमोदितः पितृमेध विधानेन यदुक्तं सांपरायिकम्.
Translation.
Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, Vibhishana, the pious brother of Ravana and devotee of Lord Ramachandra, received approval from Lord Ramachandra, the king of Kosala. Then he performed the prescribed funeral ceremonies for his family members to save them from the path to hell. Purport. After giving up the body, one is transferred to another body, but sometimes, if one is too sinful, he is checked from transmigrating to another body, and thus he becomes a ghost. To save a deceased person from ghostly life, the funeral ceremony or Shraddha ceremony, as prescribed in authorized Shastra, must be performed. Ravana was killed by Lord Ramachandra and was destined for hellish life. But by Lord Ramachandra's advice, Vibhishana, Ravana's brother, performed all the duties prescribed in relation to the dead. Thus, Lord Ramachandra was kind to Ravana even after Ravana's death.
Text 30.
ततो ददर्श भगवान शोकवनिकाश्रमे क्षामां स्वविरह व्याधिं शिंशपामूलमाश्रिताम्.
Translation.
Thereafter, Lord Ramachandra found Sita Devi sitting in a small cottage beneath the tree named Shimshapa in a forest of Ashoka trees. She was lean and thin, being aggrieved because of separation from him.
Text 31.
रामः प्रियतमां भार्यां दीनां वीक्ष्यान्वकम्पत आत्मसन्दर्शनाल्लाद विकसन्मुखपङ्कजाम्.
Translation.
Seeing his wife in that condition, Lord Ramachandra was very compassionate. When Ramachandra came before her, she was exceedingly happy to see her beloved, and her lotus-like mouth showed her joy.
Text 32.
आरोप्यारुरुहे यानं भातृभ्यां हनुमद्युतः विभीषणाय भगवान् दत्त्वा रक्षो गणेशतां लङ्कामायुश्च कल्पान्तं ययो चीर्णव्रतः पुरीम्.
Translation.
After giving Vibhishana the power to rule the Rakshasa population of Lanka for the duration of one kalpa, Lord Ramachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagwan, placed Sita Devi on an airplane decorated with flowers and then got on the plane himself. The period for his living in the forest having ended, the Lord returned to Ayodhya accompanied by Hanuman, Sugriva and his brother Lakshmana.
Text 33.
अवकीर्यमाणः सुकुसैमैर्लोकपालार्पितः पथि उपगीयमानचरितः शद्धृत्यादिभिर्मुदा.
Translation.
When Lord Ramachandra returned to his capital Ayodhya, he was greeted on the road by the princely order, who showered his body with beautiful, fragrant flowers, while great personalities like Lord Brahma and other demigods glorified the activities of the Lord in great jubilation.
Text 34.
गोमूत्र्यावकं श्रुत्वा भ्रातरं वल्कलाम्बरं महाकारुणिकोतपज्जटिलं स्थण्डिलेशयम्.
Translation.
Upon reaching Ayodhya, Lord Ramachandra heard that in his absence his brother Bharata was eating barley cooked in the urine of a cow, covering his body with the bark of trees, wearing matted locks of hair, and lying on a mattress of kusha. The most merciful Lord very much lamented this.
Text 35 to 38.
भरत प्राप्त माकर्ण्य पौरामात्य पुरोहितः पादुके शिरसि न्यस्य रामं प्रत्युद्यतोऽग्रजम्. नन्दिग्रामात् स्वशिबिराद् गीतवादित्रनिः स्वनः ब्रह्मघोषेण च मुहुः पठद्भिर्ब्रह्मवादिभिः स्वर्णकक्ष पताकाभिर्हैमश्चित्रध्वजैरथः सदश्वैरुक्मसन्नाहैर्भटः पुरटवर्मभिः श्रेणीभिर्वारमुख्याभिर्भृत्यैश्चैव पदानुगः पारमेष्ठ्यान्युपादाय पुण्यान्युच्चावचानि च पादयोर्न्यपतत्प्रेम्णा प्रक्लिन्न हृदयक्षणः.
Translation.
When Lord Bharata understood that Lord Ramachandra was returning to the capital Ayodhya, he immediately took upon his own head Lord Ramachandra's wooden shoes and came out of his camp at Nandigrama. Lord Bharata was accompanied by ministers, priests, and other respectable citizens, by professional musicians vibrating pleasing musical sounds, and by learned Brahmanas loudly chanting Vedic hymns. Following in the procession were chariots drawn by beautiful horses with harnesses of golden rope. These chariots were decorated by flags with golden embroidery and by other flags of various sizes and patterns. There were soldiers bedecked with golden armor, servants bearing betel nut, and many well-known and beautiful prostitutes. Many servants followed on foot, bearing an umbrella, whisks, different grades of precious jewels, and other paraphernalia befitting a royal reception. Accompanied in this way, Lord Bharata, his heart softened in ecstasy and his eyes full of tears, approached Lord Ramachandra and fell at his lotus feet with great ecstatic love.
Text 39 and 40.
पादुके न्यस्य पुरतः प्राञ्जलिर्बाष्पलोचनः तमाश्लिष्य चिरं दोर्भ्यां स्नापयन् नेत्रजैर्जलः रामो लक्ष्मण सीताभ्यां विप्रेभ्यो येरः सत्तमः तेभ्यः स्वयं नमश्चक्रे प्रजाभिश्च नमस्कृतः.
Translation.
After offering the wooden shoes before Lord Ramachandra, Lord Bharata stood with folded hands, his eyes full of tears, and Lord Ramachandra bathed Bharata with tears while embracing him with both arms for a long time. Accompanied by Mother Sita and Lakshmana, Lord Ramachandra then offered his respectful obeisances unto the learned Brahmanas and the elderly persons in the family, and all the citizens of Ayodhya offered their respectful obeisances unto the Lord.
Text 41.
धुन्वन्त उत्तरासंगान पतिं वीक्ष्य चिरागतम् उत्तरः कोसलामाल्यः किरन्तो नृतुर्मुदा.
Translation.
The citizens of Ayodhya, upon seeing their king return after a long absence, offered him flower garlands, waved their upper clothes, and danced in great jubilation.
Text 42 and 43.
पादुके भर्तो गृणाच्चामर व्यजनोत्तमे विभीषणः स सुग्रीवः श्वेतच्छत्रं मरुत्सुतः धनुर्निषङ्गान् शत्रुघ्नः सीतातीर्थकमण्डलुम् अबिभ्रदङ्गदः खङ्गम् हेमं चर्मरक्षराण नृप.
Translation.
O king, Lord Bharata carried Lord Ramachandra's wooden shoes, Sugriva and Vibhishana carried a whisk and an excellent fan, Hanuman carried a white umbrella, Shatrughna carried a bow and 2 quivers, and Sita Devi carried a water pot filled with water from holy places. Angada carried a sword, and Jambavan, king of the Rukshas, carried a golden shield.
Text 44.
पुष्पकस्थोन्नुतः स्त्रीभिः स्तूयमानश्च वन्दिभिः विरेजे भगवान् राजन् ग्रहश्चन्द्र इवोदितः.
Translation.
O King Parikshit, as the Lord sat on his airplane of flowers, with women offering him prayers and reciters chanting about his characteristics, he appeared like a moon with the stars and planets.
Text 45 and 46.
भ्रात्राभिनन्दितः सोऽथ सोत्सवां प्रविशत्पुरीं प्रविश्य राजभवनं गुरुपत्निः स्वमातरम् गुरून् वयस्यावरजान् पूजितः प्रत्यपूजयत् वैदेही लक्ष्मणश्च यथावत् समुपेयतुः.
Translation.
Thereafter, having been welcomed by his brother Bharata, Lord Ramachandra entered the city of Ayodhya in the midst of a festival. When he entered the palace, he offered obeisances to all the mothers, including Kaikeyi and the other wives of Maharaja Dasharatha, and especially his own mother Kaushalya. He also offered obeisances to the spiritual preceptors such as Vasishtha. Friends of his own age, younger friends, worshipped him, and he returned their respectful obeisances, as did Lakshmana and Mother Sita. In this way, they all entered the palace.
Text 47.
पुत्रान् स्वमातरस्तास्तु प्राणांस्तन्व इवोत्थितः आरोप्याङ्के भिषिञ्चन्त्यो बाष्पोधैर्विजहुः शुचः.
Translation.
Upon seeing their sons, the mothers of Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata and Shatrughna immediately arose like unconscious bodies returning to consciousness. The mothers placed their sons on their laps and bathed them with tears, thus relieving themselves of the grief of long separation.
Text 48.
जटा निर्मुच्य विधिवत् कुलवृद्धः समं गुरुः अभिषिञ्चद् यथैवेन्द्रं चतुः सिन्धुजलादिभिः.
Translation.
The family priest or spiritual master Vasishtha had Lord Ramachandra cleanly shaved, freeing him from his matted locks of hair. Then, with the cooperation of the elderly members of the family, he performed the bathing ceremony, Abhisheka, for Lord Ramachandra with the water of the four seas and with other substances, just as it was performed for King Indra.
Text 49.
एवं कृतशिरः स्नानः स्वासहस्रग्व्यलङ्कृतः स्वलङ्कृतः स्वासोभिर्भ्रातृभिर्भायया बभौ.
Translation.
Lord Ramachandra, fully bathed and his head clean shaven, dressed himself very nicely and was decorated with a garland and ornaments. Thus he shone brightly, surrounded by his brothers and wife, who were similarly dressed and ornamented.
Text 50.
अग्रहीदासनं भ्रात्रा प्रणिपत्य प्रसादितः प्रजः स्वधर्मनिरता वर्णाश्रम गुणान्वितः जुगोप पितृवद रामो मेनिरे पितरं चितम्.
Translation.
Being pleased by the full surrender and submission of Lord Bharata, Lord Ramachandra then accepted the throne of the state. He cared for the citizens exactly like a father, and the citizens, being fully engaged in their occupational duties of Varna and Ashrama, accepted him as their father. Purport: people are very fond of the pattern of Ramarajya, and even today, politicians sometimes form a party called Ramarajya, but unfortunately, they have no obedience to Lord Rama. It is sometimes said that people want the kingdom of God without God. Such an aspiration, however, is never to be fulfilled. Good government can exist when the relationship between citizens and the government is like that exemplified by Lord Ramachandra and his citizens. Lord Ramachandra ruled his kingdom exactly as a father takes care of his children, and the citizens, being obliged to the good government of Lord Ramachandra, accepted the Lord as their father. Thus, the relationship between the citizens and the government should be exactly like that between father and son. When the sons in a family are well trained, they are obedient to the father and mother, and when the father is well qualified, he takes good care of the children. As indicated here by the words, Swadharma Nirata Varnashrama Gunanvitaha. The people were good citizens because they accepted the institution of Varna and Ashrama, which arranges society in the Varna divisions of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, and the Ashrama divisions of Brahmacharya, Gruhastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. This is actual human civilization. People must be trained according to the different Varnashrama occupational duties. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 13, Chatur Varnyam Maya Srushtam Gunakarma Vibhagashaha. The first principle of good government is that it must institute this Varnashrama system. The purpose of Varnashrama is to enable people to become God conscious. Varnashrama Charavata Purushena Paraha Puman Vishnuhu Aradhyate. The entire Varnashrama scheme is intended to enable people to become Vaishnavas. Vishnu Rasya Devata. When people worship Lord Vishnu as the Supreme Lord, they become Vaishnavas. Thus, people should be trained to become Vaishnavas through the system of Varna and Ashrama, as they were during the reign of Lord Ramachandra, when everyone was fully trained to follow the Varnashrama principles. Simply enforcing laws and ordinances cannot make the citizens obedient and lawful. That is impossible. Throughout the entire world, there are so many states, legislative assemblies and parliaments, but still the citizens are rogues and thieves. Good citizenship, therefore, cannot be enforced. The citizens must be trained. As there are schools and colleges to train students to become chemical engineers, lawyers, or specialists in many other departments of knowledge, there must be schools and colleges to train students to become Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, Brahmacharis, Gruhasthas, Vanaprasthas, and Sannyasis. This will provide the preliminary condition for good citizenship. Varnashrama Gunanvitaha. Generally speaking, if the king or president is a Rajarshi, the relationship between the citizens and the chief executive will be clear, and there will be no possibility of disruption in the state, because the number of thieves and rogues will decrease. In Kali Yuga, however, because the Varnashrama system is neglected, people are generally thieves and rogues. In the system of democracy, such thieves and rogues naturally collect money from other thieves and rogues, and thus there is chaos in every government and no one is happy. But here, the example of good government is to be found in the reign of Lord Ramachandra. If people follow this example, there will be good government all over the world.
Text 51.
त्रेतायां वर्तमानायां कालः कृत्समो भवत् रामो राजनी धर्मज्ञे सर्वभूत सुखावहे.
Translation.
Lord Ramachandra became king during Treta Yuga, but because of his good government, the age was like Satya Yuga. Everyone was religious and completely happy. Purport: among the four yugas, Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali, the Kali Yuga is the worst. But if the process of Varnashrama Dharma is introduced, even in this age of Kali, the situation of Satya Yuga can be invoked. The Hare Krishna movement or Krishna consciousness movement is meant for this purpose.
कलेर दोष निधे राजनस्ति हे को महान गुण है कीर्तनादेव कृष्णस्य मुक्त संगः परम व्रजेत.
My dear king, although Kali Yuga is full of faults, there is still one good quality about this age. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 12, Chapter 3, Text 51. If people take to this Sankirtana movement of chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, they will certainly be freed from the contamination of Kali Yuga, and the people of this age will be happy as people were in Satya Yuga, the golden age. Anyone, anywhere can easily take to this Hare Krishna movement. One need only chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, observe the rules and regulations, and stay free from the contamination of sinful life. Even if one is sinful and cannot give up sinful life immediately, if he chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra with devotion and faith, he will certainly be freed from all sinful activities and his life will be successful. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. This is the blessing of Lord Ramachandra, who has appeared in this age of Kali as Lord Gaura Sundara.